guys, I'm Evan Etzebeth, Springbok Rugby player. You're watching Gareth Mason on Walking Tour with G-Man.
What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today's video is all about Springbok Rugby and the possibility of selling it to big businessmen overseas. Now we've all seen it in football where big teams are bought by really wealthy blokes. And we've seen the total transformation of how much money can talk when it brings into sport. If we look at football, I mean, football is pretty much surrounded by money. I mean, Ronaldo and Messi are top earning football players in the world. I mean, last year, if I'm not mistaken, Dan Carter was earning 2.4 million. I mean, Lionel Messi makes that within 2 weeks, which is absolutely crazy. But the thought came about was, with South African rugby, if you're a fan of it or know South African rugby well, you know there's a lot of drama we've had in the past. Through it be the quota system where government gets involved and puts players who aren't quite ready to play international level into the squad, and it causes a wee bit of chaos. There's also corruption in sport that we've had in the past and all that jazz, all the negatives. Now if you have to get someone in to own the Springbok Rugby or own an international rugby team, you pretty much say goodbye to those things, because they then take the control. They can maybe build up a head office in Dubai and control the way of international players, meaning South African born players going to play overseas, how they get back into the Springbok squad, and vice versa, how we control the system within rugby in South Africa. Now if we look at these situations that we're currently faced with, South African rugby's only problem really is money. The exchange rate within our country is shocking. I mean, £1 or so is like 17 rand, so, which is quite a big difference. The dollar is, I think, 14 or so to the rand. I mean, it's crazy, the currency. So generally our players want to go overseas because they earn like so much more money through their salaries that they get offered overseas. Now obviously in Europe you're getting paid more. You're getting the top teams that buy clubs in France and all that jazz, so they're offering good money, so players tend to go out there because then they can develop for their future. I mean, a lot of players want to go there for 2-3 years, come back, settle down, retire in South Africa. I mean, an example, the Southern Kings captain, Michael Willemse, he's now heading over to Edinburgh. I mean, he only sees himself maybe going at it for another 3-4 years or so, and then he wants to come back, play for the Kings and retire. But in those 3-4 years he's earned quite a good amount of money, and he's established a career for himself, or he's established a financial background where he could take care of himself and maybe his family at the time and all that jazz. So that's why these guys go overseas, to go for the money. And I've done videos on this. So they play for pride or money, and some situations guys just don't get selected due to quota system and all that jazz, so they decide to go overseas, or they just really want to just go develop their career overseas and earn the big bucks, so they tend to go over. Now recently South African Rugby Union have lifted the rules. So we used to have, you have to play 30 caps or so in order to play for the Springboks if you play overseas. Now that rule was lifted, so now Springboks can go overseas, play for the Springboks, and obviously earn a better income. So we've seen a lot of players on the verge of exodus in this past few months, really. I mean, the Sharks have lost the Priya brothers, they've lost Akafana Mava, Kuni Uwestasian, they're all going to the Cell Sharks. We know Evan Etzebeth going overseas, and the list goes on. And there's so many players that haven't even finalized their contracts because they are just probably waiting to see how things are going or how Super Rugby turns out. Now, in order to keep these guys here, how do we do it? Well, you sell the Springboks and get a big investor to invest in the team and to bring the money back down to the country where it belongs. And what I mean by that is by developing, I mean, we've got a great schooling system. South African development is brilliant. I mean, we've got great schools. And slowly but surely transformation is growing and getting stronger within the communities of Southern Africa, which is fantastic. So they are developing and growing at the same time. So there's a lot of good things happening. So if you had an investor who's controlling things and bringing the money to the country, players will not want to leave. If they're getting treated well, if they're getting paid well, you won't see them disappearing far to overseas because the franchises within the country are taken care of. People are developing the right way. Your ultimate dream of playing for your school, your club, your provincial level, then that dream of playing in your international jersey can now finally come true instead of jumping ship because you worry about your future, you worry about the money. The advantages of it, obviously, corruption can't get involved. No one's got a say of who and what gets selected, all on merit. Development within South African rugby will increase because more money is being invested. And by the way, I'm only talking South African terms because I am South African. This could be an idea for very other nations around the world, and so forth and so forth. So maybe it's not a bad idea. Will it happen? I pretty much doubt it. And I know Jake White has mentioned this today as well, saying why doesn't South Africa sell SA Rugby to the highest bidder in order to increase our opportunity and to solve that risk of losing players overseas. Because if we look at the Super Rugby situation, we're facing an exodus. Okay, everyone's facing it, but South Africa's facing quite a big one because a lot of our players are going overseas. In New Zealand, you still got that ruling. If you want to play for New Zealand, you've got to play in New Zealand. I think Australia's got that ruling. Argentina, there's talks of their European players coming back. But again, there was a ruling there too. So South Africa have now lifted it. So all these guys are going overseas. We're seeing Pro 14 develop with the Kings and the Cheetahs being involved. There's rumours of more provincial teams within South Africa wanting to head over. So there's a lot of talk of development of South African rugby and Europe and all that jazz. But if one had to invest within the country and the sport, I think it will bring a lot of hope back into South Africa and development back into the country. I mean, if you have the monies to invest in township schools, help develop, upgrade their schooling system, upgrade their rugby fields, the equipment that they use, we are creating brilliance around. We are giving opportunities for young kids whose dreams it was to play for the Springboks or play for the Sharks, the Bulls, whoever it may be. It allows us opportunity to be created, and I think it's an absolutely great idea, and that's why I wanted to talk about this video, because I thought it was an absolutely interesting topic. Now, I quote Naspoeti. He says, under the new contracting model, SA Rugby is actively telling players to go overseas with no fear that it will affect their chances of playing for the Springboks. That is so true. We're going to call relegation 9 whenever the test window opens, while we're blooding juniors in South Africa on longer term contracts. It's contradictory because all of the values we're going to be trying to instill in those youngsters don't apply anymore, because the senior players we've told to go chase the big contracts overseas, so they'll be welcome back. So all those guys who are working hard within South African Rugby Union in their provincial teams are going to get booted away because the big boys have all are now available to play. So that's always been my thing with this whole system of going overseas and all that. It's not developing the sport within the country. It's not developing the sport within the nation. And for me, that is so important. I look at New Zealand, and I've used them as an example, but they're the best team in the world for a reason. And look at the schooling system within New Zealand. It is phenomenal. Club level, provincial level, to international level. It is textbook. It is brilliant. And that's why they're one of the top teams in the world. Now, if South Africa can implement this with a bit more money from maybe an investor, hey, we could grow and develop things too. Also, the disadvantages. Too much money, too much greed. So players expect things, they want things, they become arrogant, they lose the actual passion for the game, the pride gets thrown away, and they play for the money. So there's always a disadvantage, because you see it in Europe. These guys become big-headed, especially in football, and think they own the world when they walk around in the streets or walk around in the field. And you don't generally want that from a rugby player, because The respect that you see on a rugby field is that much way more different to what we see on a football field. A football field, you see guys going at the referee, shouting, causing chaos. And like you tap a leg, the guy's jumping like he's doing the high jump as if he's in pain. If you look at rugby, these guys get hard tackles, hard hits, go through it all. When the ref says something, they listen. There's a lot of respect within a rugby field, and off the field too. When the whistle's blown, the thugs, as you would call it, become gentlemen. And I mean, the camaraderie between these teams around the world is truly remarkable. And I'd hate for us to lose the tradition. I'd hate for us to lose that motivation within that is so passionate from a fan point of view, from a player point of view. I'd hate for us to lose that, especially for two teams like, I'm going to use New Zealand and South Africa. They've got one hell of a bond. When they play against each other, jeepers, it's hard rugby. But off the field, they've got a lot of respect for each other. We've heard it from the great Richie McCaw, Jean de Villiers always talks about it. You even see it in today's day and age with whoever's captain, be it Warren Whiteley, Dwayne Vermeulen, Sia Kolisi. With Kieran Reid, there's respect, there's passion, there's love for the game, and I'd hate for us to see it. So I'm 60-40 on this one. I think it's an interesting topic to bring in, especially for a country like South Africa to develop within. We've got great schools. We got a World Cup winning team, two-time World Cup winning team. We got amazing stadiums, and we truly have it all in order for someone to want to spend money on a rugby nation like us and take control. I think it'll be absolutely curious and very interesting to see how things would all plan up. I really think it will be absolutely fantastic to witness. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Do you agree? Should SA Rugby be sold or be put on for sale? Or should we stick to the tradition of what we've always known? Or should South Africa just take away the ruling, go back to 30 caps or more, play for the Springboks, play overseas kind of thing? Or should we just leave things how it is? My only concern is the exodus. Yes, we can develop again, but in the current state where we are now, I think South African rugby is great, and I'm not enjoying watching all these great guys go overseas. So that is my only fear. But again, that's just my opinion. We are here to debate, we're here to talk about it, so let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I am very, very interested to hear what you have to say. Thanks so much for watching, guys. That's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe so you can keep it up to date with all future uploads. Interesting topic, and I'm sure you'll find it interesting, and I'm interested to hear what you have to say. Stay safe and never give up. Cheers.
Make sure you subscribe to his channel for all rugby content. Stay safe and never give up.